Well, like I said, we're in a series called Fruitful. Look at your neighbor and say, fruitful. And today, I get the honor of bringing this next fruit check to you guys. Are you ready for today? If you hadn't seen it online, let me tell you what it is. Quick drum roll. It is kindness. Come on, somebody. Somebody say kindness. I know what you think. You hear kindness, you think of this guy, right? Yeah, we're going to get to that too, but man, kindness is one of those things that I think we should all have, right? And I'm going to read a couple scriptures. We're just going to jump right in today because, man, I got a lot of stuff to do and I think I have plenty of time. But you've probably heard this scripture read through this series in John 15:8. It says, when you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great glory to my Father. So what kind of fruit are we supposed to produce? Much. Everybody say much. Right. If we're his disciple, we should be producing much fruit in our life. You know, I love in the New Testament where it says, you will know a tree by the fruit that it bears, right? I love that analogy. I love thinking of that, of man, what fruit is represented. And if we go down into Galatians, we talk about our foundation scripture, our anchor scripture of this series is found in Galatians chapter 5 and 22 and 23. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit it's love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, and against such there is no law, right? Fruit is proof that we're connected to Jesus, and I love that we have a list that says this is what the fruit is, right? So I love that. I know I looked for the list. It's like, let's go, Ryan, you got me. But you know what I'm saying? I love that we have a list to know what the fruit is, but it made me think of, I love to run everything through a fruit filter, right? Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. It's like, should I watch this movie? Should I do this action? Should I do, what is the fruit of those things? I don't know if you ever thought about that, but to me, this has really helped me in my walk with Jesus to thinking, man, let me run everything through that filter and see if it's good for me. Like you wouldn't know it by looking at me, but my choice of music growing up was gangster rap. Okay, that's all I listened to. If you know NWA, Ice Cube, Eazy-E, Too Short, I can go on and on. A long time ago, okay? Now, again, I can remember giving my life to Jesus and still trying to listen to the same music I did before Jesus. And I could give you a great argument on, it's just the music, it's not the lyrics. I don't even hear what they're saying, right? Yeah, come on, some of you said the same thing. But it came to a point, and I love this. This is what Paul also says this. He says, look, it's not about what can I and can I do. Paul says, look, I can do anything. But not everything is beneficial to me. So it made me think sometimes in Christianity, we're like, I just like this. I want a list. I want to know, am I checking the boxes, right? Like, am I a good Christian? What does a good Christian even look like? Oh, it's so subjective, right? And then we're all on different journeys, right? You've been following Jesus for a week. This person's been following him for a year and 10 years. So we're all at different parts of this journey. But yet we all want to categorize and look at everyone like they're on the same walk that we are. Like, can't believe they wore that to church. Now, I know y'all don't say that, but that happens sometimes, right? We forgot what we look like first Sunday we come in. Right? Yeah, I ain't even going there. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we forget those things, but I think if we run it through the fruit filter of man, if I listen to this music, you know what? It puts me in some kind of mood. Like, you don't want to mess with me when I'm listening to my music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel a little bit tougher, a little more jumpier, right? So I think if we run everything through this fruit filter, and what you'll find, there may be things that other people can do that you just feel like it's not beneficial to you, right? It's kind of like, does anybody know what a number one is at McDonald's? Say it on three. 1, 2, 3. It's a Big Mac. Let me get a number one large size with a Coke. Now, I can look at the fruit of that. If I keep going through getting a number one large size with a Coke, and sometimes I'm like, hold the pickle because I want it fresh. You know what I'm saying? But the fruit of continually eating Big Macs is, guess what? My shirt size may have to change. That's okay. I know the fruit of that. There's nothing wrong with going to McDonald's, right? So hopefully that gives you a little bit of understanding of this fruit filter, of a way that you can just run everything in life. Because I'm like, it's not about right and wrong. It's like, God, is this beneficial to me? Is this going to produce the kind of fruit I need in my life right now? You know what I'm saying? And you can do that with anything, just anything. So if you're struggling with anything, man, should I date this guy? What kind of fruit's in his life? Should I date this girl? What kind of fruit's in her life? Should I watch this? Literally, there's fruit of everything, right? Everything has a fruit coming out of it. And maybe you can even look at your own life and go, am I happy with how life looks? What fruit am I producing? Man, what is producing this? Oh, I know, it's them number ones. Man, I can't help it. I love a good Big Mac, right? So you get the idea. So run everything through the fruit filter. But today, what we're running through that filter is kindness. Again, one time, say kindness. Now, I went to the dictionary to make sure, because I think I'm a pretty kind person. Nobody's laughing, but they're smiling. Okay. Let me tell you what the dictionary says. The quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. Now, I think we all feel like, I don't know about you, but I don't know if anybody goes, no, I'm just mean. Like, I think we all feel like we're kind in our own way, right? Now, most of the time when people describe me, they don't use the word kind. My son loves to use the word intense. You know, growing up, my dad's very intense. I'm like, okay. So they never say, oh, he's so kind. They're like, no, he's intense. I've heard the word scary. Yeah. And I know the bald head. I get it. Look, y'all are stereotyping me just from my looks, right? I know that. I kind of a mean look, I guess, but I'm really not. So I said, I'm pretty kind. And then there's this thing going around next. If you don't know, I have a life hack that I told you guys about probably a year or so ago, that every day I just wear a black shirt. Every day. I wake up, put on a black shirt. Bezos or Zuckerberg, one of these smart guys are like, it just eliminates the time you have to think about what to wear. Imagine how much time you save over the year. Now, I know it don't work for everyone. Ladies, sorry, I know, like, I just can't wear a black t-shirt every day. I get it. But for me, it's like black t-shirt and jeans every day. Well, so now I'm known as Black Shirt Bunk, according to these next kids. You know, he's the mean black shirt guy. But every now and then they'll say Pink Shirt Bunk comes out. Hi, good morning. It's going to be a great day in the Lord, right? It's this. But apparently he don't make appearances very often, because Pink Shirt Bunk is just not around as much. And I'm thinking, first of all, I think I'm kind. I think there's still kindness in this world. So I said, you know what? I got an idea for you black shirt, pink shirt next students. Why don't we take you guys and let's go to Baybrook Mall and let's see if we can find some people that are willing to do some kind acts. So that's what we did. We loaded up a couple next kids. Welcome to the program. If you're 18 to 24, we got the program for you. Yeah, you don't mind talking to strangers? You will love this. So what we did is we went and just shot these videos and put people in random situations to see if they would be kind. So the first one we're going to watch is, and again, we started with very low difficulty all the way going to a little bit more increased. You got to be a little bit more nicer, a little more kind to pull this off. So the first video we're going to watch is, they just asked, would someone stop what they're doing and take a picture of them? Let's see what happened.
Ma'am, would you mind taking our picture? Thank you so much.
So you see, she's like heading into a store and she stops what she's doing. And it was very windy as well.
Yes.
Smiling faces.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, pretty easy. I think everyone in the room would be like, sure, I would stop and take someone's photo. So then we're like, okay, we need to keep amping it up a notch. So let's say, what if someone dropped their wallet? And for the record, we use my wallet. So I'm like, I really like this wallet. So I took everything out, but I'm like, I still just like the wallet in general. So if it gets stolen, we're literally going to chase this person down, which, let me say, would make great video, right? So let's see what happened whenever Caden dropped his wallet in the mall.
Oh, thank you so much.
Now you notice they said wallet. They didn't touch it. Didn't want no fingerprints on it, I guess. I don't know. But they didn't pick it up. But hey, they're like, hey, your wallet, your wallet. So then we said, okay, we need to go a little bit harder than that. How about being in line to get something to eat and you don't have enough money? Would someone give you $1? Yeah, you're thinking now of turning around going, I need $1. Well, that's why we got Maddie for the job. Let's see what happens.
I'm so sorry to ask this. I just realized I was $1 short for my lemonade. Is there any way? Just $1? Yes. Thank you so much.
All right, great, right? So not only did they give her $1, they're like, can we still buy your lemonade? Now, we told them this was an experiment. We gave them a gift card to Starbucks just to say thank you. But again, I know this really wasn't fair because we did that in the Chick-fil-A line, right? I know, it's like, we could have got like a new car if we'd have wanted it. I get it. So that one's a little, but, so now we said, maybe let's get Cato and see, would someone let you borrow their phone, their prized possession, their cell phone? Let's see what happened.
Excuse Excuse me, sir. Can I borrow your phone really quick? My phone just died, and I just need to call my mom.
And I'm sorry, that's personal.
All right.
Okay, many of you can relate to that, being like, I ain't giving no stranger my phone. They're trying to get my banking information. They're trying to pull something funny. But what's really cool is in this next clip, we did it again, and a guy that actually heard this first conversation showed up. And let's show you how that went.
Yeah, thanks, man. What was your name?
John.
John. Oh, okay, so man.
What's your name?
Kato.
Nice to meet you, bro.
So here's John was walking by during the first one, and in the unedited video, you can see John walking by and overhearing that Cato needs to borrow your phone, waiting to see what this other guy was going to do. When the other guy passed, John was ready, being like, bro, here's my phone, use it. Yeah, that was good. So then I said, you know what, let's do one more. The toughest of all, let's get out in front of the mall. As people are going in, let's tell them you need a jump start. So like they just got to the mall, they haven't even made it in the front door, and I said, we're going to get either two kinds of people here. We're going to get people that have no idea about jump starting a car in a mall parking lot. Like the chance of getting your car close enough is a nightmare, right? Or they're just going to be so kind. So let's see what happened here. So we put Maddie on the job for this one. And there's no audio on these next one. We just kind of like put them together. These were a couple of no-goes here, as you could imagine. So Maddie's coming up going, again, we said we have the cables, we have everything we need. We just need someone willing to pull their car up to ours to jump it off. No thanks, not interested. And then here we go. And again, we use Maddie too. We're like, it's not threatening, it's not a guy. I know it's a crazy world. This is Shirley right here. And nope, we're in a rush. So there was a few of those. We didn't want to bore you with all of the no's because there are some no's because again, that's a big ask, right? Walk all the way back to the park. You know how it is in the mall. Come on, you got to find a space first. You finally find it. You get to the front door. The air conditioning's within reach. And someone's like, hey, will you go back to the parking lot with me somewhere and jump off my car? But we did find one other person here today.
Excuse me, my car just died, and I have the cables and everything. Is there any way you could help me jump it?
Jump it?
I just don't know how. Thank you so much. I'm right over here.
Right? We got a hero here. Reluctant hero. You can tell he's I guess, doing the nice guy thing, which was awesome. So again, I said, let's just go out. There's still kindness out here, right? So I'm like, look, if all these strangers can be kind, I know I'm kind. I know it. So you know the one way I could prove it? I'm going to take a kindness test. That's right. Google online, look for a kindness test. There's this thing that went around churches were doing, I don't remember how long ago, but it was called the 30-day kindness challenge. And they had a free assessment that I could fill out, do 25 or 30 questions, and then I could prove to the world how kind I am. Would you guys like to see my results live today? Let's see the results of my kindness test. Yeah, it said I'm Miss Piggy or Scrooge. Not what I was thinking was going to happen. But I'll be honest, those tests are tricky questions, right? You know how it's a bunch of answers could be right and you don't know, but I'm going to read to you what it said about me, just because I'm being honest with you guys. And this is how it starts. Are you ready for a candid evaluation? Side note, anybody in your life ever comes up to you to have a candid evaluation? Not going to be good, okay? Just so you know that if you learn nothing else today, run from candid evaluation. It says, according to your answers, you can be quite selfish and uncaring and blind when you hurt others as a result. You need to allow your eyes to be opened. I'm like, ooh, well, that's a gut punch, right? Probably shouldn't share it with you guys on Kindness Day, but hey, here we are. But it's one of those things we're all working through this, right? How to be more kind, how to be more like Christ, to have much fruit in our life. So I said, I got to read a little bit more about this challenge because I'm thinking there's something wrong with that because no way I'm Miss Piggy. But this is what it says. These are the top 3 things in this challenge. And this is made if you're having relationship issues, how you can be kind in relationships. Number 1, it says, say nothing negative to them or about them. So I was like, oh, that's really good. Say nothing negative to that person you're trying to work in a relationship with. But better yet, don't say nothing negative about them. Like in the car, to your spouse, to your homie. You just don't say anything negative. Then number 2, they do this. Find a positive thing to tell them and someone else. So not only am I not saying anything negative about you, now I'm saying something positive about you, right? And then the third thing it says, every day, one small act of kindness. What up, girl? Or whatever, she would say that, sorry. I know where that came from. But this is what it said. It said 89% of relationships improved, even if it was only one-sided. So if I'm trying to repair my relationship with Bailey, if I'm doing these things, even if she don't care, guess what? It's going to get better. You know why? Because it changes you. That's really what it's doing. It's really changing the way you look at things. And I really believe that's what kindness is like. When we start thinking about the kindness and having this fruit of the Spirit, it's like so many times we have circumstantial kindness. Like depending on the circumstance, I'll be kind. Like let's talk about merging in traffic. How many of you guys would say you toe the line and you're telling the cars ahead of you, keep it tight, don't let them in? Are there any of those? Yes. Okay. There's times I'm trying to talk to the whole, like, let's go, don't let them. Like there's 100 cars they pass and they're trying to scoot in. I ain't about it, right? But then there's other times that I'm like, maybe they didn't see. I'll just let one in, and then you're not paying attention and two slip in, and you're like, okay. So, or is there anybody here that you don't mind? Just merge. All right, well, yeah, we got some people that's like, hey, I'm in no rush to get anywhere, just merge. But what I mean by circumstantial, how many of you are like me where it's like, I think I'm in the middle. Sometimes I'm towing the line and I'm fighting. I'm like, I ain't letting you in. And then I'm like, I'm going to let you in, but you better wave. I'm looking for the wave. Side mirror, rear view, I'm looking for acknowledgement that you know that, hey, you let me in. And when I don't get that, oh, it's on. Nobody's merging for the rest of the day. Why? Because my kindness is based on a circumstance, right? If you acknowledge it, then I'll do it again. But if you ain't acknowledge it, that's it. They don't even appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? But biblical kindness, this fruit of the Spirit kindness to me it's rooted in love. And it's just the kind of kindness that has no strings attached, right? There's no strings attached to any of this. It's not like I'll let you in, but you better wave, or I'm not letting anyone else in, right? It's just, there's just no strings attached. And how kind was Jesus? I mean, you can look through the Bible and his kindness is, man, this whole book is about his kindness and how kind he is to people and situations. And I'm like, man, I'm looking at, again, we're supposed to model our life after his. And I don't ever see him doing the things that I do sometimes, right? He handles almost every situation way different than I would handle it, with kindness and with love and compassion and understanding, right? I do wonder, though, how many people Jesus would let merge. I don't know. Would he just let it keep going, like, go ahead, keep it coming? Or would he be like, that's enough, clear the path, and just go through? Anyway, so I picked a couple stories for you guys. There's so many to choose from here. So hopefully you like these Bible stories today. They're really good. And to me, it really shows the heart and the kindness that Christ had. The first one's going to be found in John chapter 8. And this is known as the woman caught in adultery. So let's just start out with a banger right here, right? Just start out with just a tough story right out of the box of just this woman caught in adultery. Just how tough is this? In verse 1, it says this: Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives, but early the next morning, he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them. As he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery, and they put her in front of the crowd. Teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. And they kept demanding an answer. So he stood up again and said, all right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. And when the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you? No, Lord, she said. And Jesus said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. Man, I think about this situation. I think about, let's put it in our day today. Imagine in 3 minutes from now, the ushers come in. Yo, we just caught this woman trying to hook up with someone in a restroom. Bring her up on stage. What you gonna do? Like, that's literally Jesus in the middle of teaching. People are all around. They bring this woman who was caught in the middle of hooking up. Don't know what she was wearing. Don't know where the dude is. The dude just gets a pass, I guess. He's not mentioned at all, right? But could you imagine they drag her in front of Jesus going, what are you going to do about this situation? Bro, that's tough. That's a tough Sunday. I'll be like, Pastor Wes, you're up, right? Like, I'm out, right? And they do that to Jesus. And Jesus starts writing in the ground, and it's so cool, like no one really knows everybody's got theories of what they think he wrote in the ground, was he writing their name and some of their sins? I was like, oh, that sounds would be so great if it was. I don't know, but it sounds really good. Like, who knows what he wrote? But he definitely made an impact on them guys to say, we need to peace out. And I love that it says Jesus was left in the middle of the circle with her. Like he was there with her this whole time, right? I mean, what kindness he showed it. Could you imagine how embarrassed this woman was? Could you imagine what was going through her mind? Like, again, they're dragging me to the church and to this rabbi, this teacher, and like, who knows, like I said, did they let her get clothed? I don't know. I can just imagine what a situation this was in. And if anybody had the right to be like, why would you, like Jesus, right? Come on, this is Jesus. But he didn't. Jesus showed her kindness in that moment, and he tried to show the people around her, like, if you've never sinned, you throw the first rock, right? You throw the first stone. And it made me think, man, the longer I'm in this game of following Jesus, that it's easy if you're not careful to start looking at people that aren't where you are and start pointing out what they're doing wrong. And again, I know it's really not intentional. Sometimes we're like, no, we just want them to be better, but like we literally start pointing out accusations at people and sometimes forget, man, God, look at what you've brought me from. Amen? And sometimes it's hard to I can't show them kindness because we forgot the kind of kindness that we received, right? So we're going around and going like, man, I can't believe they're doing this or doing that or doing this. And I'm like, man, you know what it's like trying to figure this thing out? Right? Like you're trying your best and your boss is just coming down on you and you say this or that, or like so many situations in life happen. But what I see from Jesus in the moment of this woman, like I couldn't imagine the situation she was in, and Jesus chose kindness in that moment. He didn't tell her, how could you? He didn't do any of those things, right? He just said, look, did anybody condemn you? Well, I don't either. Go and sin no more. Amen? I just thought that was so cool. In Romans chapter 2, it even says this. It says kindness leads to repentance. And it made me think about my upbringing, and I've told my story several times. I get to do it at camp every year. I love just telling my testimony. You know why? It's the greatest story I know, right? Hopefully your testimony is the greatest story you know. Why? Because it happened to you and you're the star in that story, right? Jesus came in and done something amazing in your life and you get to tell the world about it. But it made me think of this church that would send their bus to the projects to pick up me and my friends. I don't remember a lot of the Jesus things they taught me. I really don't. I'm sure we did it. I know we did. But man, it's their kindness is what I remembered. I didn't remember books of the Bible. I don't remember any of that. What I remember is when we would shake the bus on the bus ride and the bus driver would pull over and go, we can't go if you keep doing that. And we'd say, all right, we'll stop. The moment he pulls back out, we're shaking the bus again. Let's go. I was those kids. And trust me, I know. The Lord's got me back. He's like, you're going to go back with kids and every kid comes in there. You think they're bad? They were nothing compared to you. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. They're not me. Right? And I think about this church who continued to show up. Why? I don't know if I would pick me up. 100%. If I had a kid like me, I'd be like, have you ever thought about going to the sanctuary? It's really cool in there. You can lay under the pews, but again, what stood out 30 years later, how many years later? Probably more than 30. 40 years later, right? What stood out was the kindness of God's people. Of us not having presents under our tree and a knock on the door, being people from the church coming to bless us, like, man, the way that they treated us. It's often said, you won't remember what people say, but you'll remember how they made you feel. And I'm like, when I look back at that, I'm like, man, if I'm not doing that for someone else, man, I'm missing it. And I think there's definitely times that I'm missing it. You know what I'm saying? That I'm like, man, I should be bringing that kind of kindness into every situation. But it only worked because they were looking for nothing in return. If they were like, we're only picking up good kids, it would have never worked. But if they're like, you know what? I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. It's what God has called me to do. God has called us to show kindness to this world. It's not about how you treat me back. And that's our problem, right? Like, you say something bad to me, I'm trying to think of a comeback to say something bad to you. That's just how we're wired, right? We're just wired to retaliation instead of being proactive going. And let me tell you what, kindness is a choice, right? And since I've been preparing for this message, I've been looking for opportunities to be kind. I've been looking for it. And it's been hard. I was at Buc-ee's right here on Clifford this week. And there's kind of two lines. There's the people coming in to pay for gas and the people over at the drinks. And I'm on the drink side, right? So I'm getting this drink, and a lady's right here, and I'm right here, and there's someone checking out, and I'm like, watch this. She's like, well, you go already? I'm like, yes. I'm sorry. I'm like, I just want to be kind, and no one will let me. But, so I'm like, even intentionally trying to do it, it's tough. And I want to be like, I didn't want you to go anyway. Like, I can't say that. But you know what, that's how you feel, why? Because it's always based on something else. But the moment we realize, man, God, what you're calling me to walk in, the fruit of the Spirit that should be evident in my life is not based on any person, it's based on you. So I'm going to go and I'm going to love and I'm going to be kind and I'm going to be nice and compassionate and forgiving. I'm doing all these things. I'm not even doing it for that person. Oh, God, I'm doing it because that's what you did for me. And man, it is so freeing if you can ever wrap your mind around that concept that's like, I can say good morning. I don't care if you say good morning. Like, I'm not doing it just for you to say good morning back. God, I'm doing it because you've called me to be kind. And it's not based on anyone else's reaction. I'm going to read another story for you. It's found in Luke. This is the parable of the Good Samaritan. And there's a guy comes up to Jesus and he's like, look, what do you got to do to get to heaven, right? That's a question I think we all want to know. Like, I want to be there, streets of gold, let's go. And he says, what do I need to do? So Jesus said, you got to love God and you got to love your neighbor. And then the guy's like, okay, cool, but who's my neighbor? And this is what Jesus says. He says, a Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him half dead beside the road. By chance, a priest came along, but when he saw the man laying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. A temple assistant walked over and looked at him laying there, but he also passed by on the other side. Then a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine, bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day, he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I will pay you the next time I'm here. Now, which of these would you say was a neighbor to the man who was attacked by bandits? Jesus asked. The man replied, the one who showed him mercy. Then Jesus said, yes, now go and do the same. So he's trying to tell him and if you know the context, Samaritan and Jewish people, they weren't friends. They were like oil and water. They were Crips and Bloods. They were Tom and Jerry. I don't know any, I know that's crazy. I'm just trying to think of any things that don't go together, right? Any of those things. You think of any of those things, that's what they were. They did not get along. Sorry. All the guys are like, what are you doing? I don't know. It just happens, right? So he's like, go and do that. Like, go and be kind. Like, isn't it crazy that the least likely person you think to help them was the one to help? It's wild to me. And Jesus is like, look, that's what it's about. It's not about any of those things. And it reminds me of, we went to Red Lobster about 2 weeks ago. We got any Red Lobster fans? Come on, Cheddar Bay biscuits, somebody. Now, look, I know you're thinking Red Lobster is just fancy Captain D's. I get it. It's a little bit. But so we went there because the Cheddar Bay biscuits, right? So we go there. And if you don't know this about me, let me tell you, I have the most patience and kindness at a restaurant than I do anywhere on this planet. Me and my wife, a few years ago, met at a restaurant when I was a dishwasher busboy and she was a waitress. So because of that, I have so much grace. Like, if it takes forever, it's okay. Stuff happens in the kitchen. I know this, right? I think of all the scenarios and I'm really good in that setting. My kids are even like, bro, you're not intense here. I don't know how. I'm like, this is my zen, right? So we're sitting there in Red Lobster, hoping to get some Cheddar Bays, me, my wife Leash, Jonah, and Jacob. And our waitress comes up and she's like, yeah, I've only been doing this a month. I'm like, all right, that's good. I don't mind. Hey, everybody's learning, everybody's training. So I'm like, let me just get them Cheddar Bays and everything will be good. And it took a minute, they're in the oven, but you could tell she was new. So she wasn't as fast as probably an experienced waitress, but I'm good. So we're just chilling. Next thing I know, the hostess brings in this other couple. Oof. She walks them over to their seat and they're like, this is not good enough for us. And you get the hostess, a young girl too. She's like, what about this table? And it's like a huge table with all these leaves you break down. And they're literally death staring this lady. And she's trying to break the leaves down. She can't get the leaves to go down on the table. Another waiter comes over. It's a whole thing. And they finally get it. How is this? And we got it all ready. And they're like, that's no better than the other table. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to eat that girl alive. So she goes back to the original table. And I'm like, so she comes by and goes, hey, I'll be with you guys in just a moment. I'm telling her, I was like, this is not going to be good. Like, she's new and they're on another level today. Well, she don't get back soon enough, so they storm out and leave. Which I'm like, I want to tell the waitress, but I don't. I want to be kind to them too. I'm like, You dodged a bullet right there. Because I don't know if she would have made it through her shift right there, right? But what's crazy to me is my wife working as a waitress for so many years. If you talk to waitresses, like probably the worst crowd to wait is Sunday lunch. Sunday lunch is the most demanding people, the most cheap tippers. Not you guys, but those other people, right? I'm telling you, they'll be like, give me the Friday night party crowd any day over that Sunday lunch. They want the world and they won't leave you anything. You know what I'm saying? So it made me think about like even just the kindness we show in situations like that, of like just loving on people and not knowing the story of this waitress, not knowing and again, I know I'm biased because I have a restaurant, history, but I'm thinking, man, if my waitress looks like she's dropping the bag that day, like who knows what's going on in her life? Am I the version of Jesus she gets to see today? But the thing is, sometimes like me, I'm programmed for it at the restaurant, but not at Walmart. At Walmart, I'm like, let's go. Who's paying me? Where's my check? I'm running this register by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, but realize that that's our call at everywhere we go, is to show kindness. You know, some people I know went to a restaurant a couple Sundays ago for lunch, and they were telling me this story, and I'm gonna keep all the names hidden to take care of everyone, but there was a table near them where they were eating that were just going buck wild on their server. Like, pretty crazy. They're like, this is awkward. And they look over, not only is it a pastor of a church, but he's wearing his church shirt. I'm like, oh gosh. Now, listen, no hate here, because if you know me, like last year, spring break, almost got in a fight wearing a church shirt. So I got no room to talk. But it's crazy how these things happen, right? Like here we are repping the Lord and ready, and one wrong thing, and all of a sudden we're just tearing somebody down instead of showing the kindness that God would want us to show people. I'm like, why is it so hard? Why does the enemy get to come in there and just wreck our day by the way we even let people, when people don't treat us with kindness, like we want to retaliate, right? We want to fire back off of them. We want to say something back to them. We just can't let it rest, right? You got to I just got to say something. I don't know if you know them, but I just got to say this. I've been watching a lot of Modern Family, and they'd be like, I just got to say this, Cam. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just got to say this. Like, and normally it's never good when you go there, right? When you got to say something. Why? God, what would you have me to do in this situation? God, what is the fruit that I should be showing in this situation? Right? What is the fruit that the world needs? You realize we're supposed to be of the world, but like we're in the world, but not of the world. We should be different. Like, I'm just being honest, like today when we go to lunch, that restaurant should be better because we're there. This should be the best tip this girl's got all week. I'm just telling you, like it should be. Why? Because God, we want to show kindness. And guess what? You don't have to do anything. I don't even have to tell you. Kindness should speak for us. These fruits of the Spirit should be much fruit in our life, evidence in our life. And I'm not just telling you this, I'm telling me this. I started to put my phone on selfie mode and just preach to myself today. But I want to make sure I'm going, and God, are these things evident in my life? You've called us all to this. We live in a world that we know has got tons of issues and tons of problems. And I don't know about you, but the way I've been doing it's not working. Like, would people even know I follow Christ unless I told them? Is there anything different? Is there anything that stands out about me? Well, I figured you were a Christian. You always wear a church shirt, but man, you be going wild in those shirts. I'm telling you, every time I've had a situation in my life, I look down and I'm wearing a church shirt. It's the craziest thing. I went in Target. Remember that time at Target, girl? I was about to get that lady. I'm like, ooh, God has more. I just had to bail on that one. I couldn't do it. Thank the Lord. And let me tell you this. If you ain't got no merch, get you some merch. It'll help you. Just hopefully you look down before you go into whatever's about to happen, right? I don't want to see you on TikTok beating somebody up and you're like, fruitful. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what we want. Man, should be kindness. And I think about, it's funny about when you think about kindness, like this is like a no-brainer, right? Like you're going to listen to this whole thing about kindness, like I know I should be kind. Like to me, it's simple, right? We should be kind. But what is it about it that we're not grasping sometimes that we know to do that? You know what else is crazy? Why is it so much easier to be kind to strangers than people you know? Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like a stranger can be on the side of the road. You'll pull over and change everything, and someone asks you to go to the other room and grab something. Like, I ain't doing it. Get it yourself. Like you just changed 3 tires on an 18-wheeler and didn't even care. And you won't walk to the kitchen to get me a drink? Like, anyway, that don't happen in my house, baby. You always hook me up. So anyways, think about that. Sometimes it's easier to be kind to people you don't know. And therefore, the people closest to us get the worst version of us. Let's talk to our married folk in the house. You know how that is. You have a bad day at work and you know you can't take it out on your boss, but you can take it out on whenever you come home, right? That's a part of relationships sometimes. Like, I'm not saying it's a good part, but I'm saying sometimes those things happen because we're so frustrated in situations that we take it out on the people that are closest to us. Why? Because we know they'll let us get away with it. And then we got to go back and apologize, and you get to go to Red Lobster and get Cheddar Bay biscuits, and so it's all good. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what happens sometimes. Is, are we being kind to those people that know us? You know, I've often said the people that should respect you the most is the people that know you the best. Because why? They know the real you. They don't know the Sunday version of you. They don't know the Wednesday night continuing ed version of you. They don't know the serving version of you. Like, they know the real you. They know you Monday at 6 o'clock, right? They know you outside of this setting. So if they don't think you're kind, like, does it even matter that a stranger thinks you're kind? Does it even matter that I wasn't to let the lady ahead of me in the line at Buc-ee's? You know what I'm saying? It makes me think, is there true kindness in me? Am I bearing much fruit in this area of my life? I want to read you guys one other story. And I'm just going to tell you now, I listened to this story because there's some names in there that I know I'm going to mess up. So y'all just going to pretend like it didn't happen when we get there. But his name is, y'all ready? Mephibosheth. And I don't even know if I got it right. So I listened to it and I like, you know how you can listen to the Bible? I'm like, back it up, what? Back it up. Oh, what? That's the best I got. So just so you know, if you ever got to talk about the Bible and you're not sure, listen to it audibly and it should help you. But Mephibosheth? Okay, that's who we're going to go with. But this story about Mephibosheth, and I was like, I was going to call him like Big M or something, try to give him a nickname, but that felt wrong too. But if you don't know about Mephibosheth, this is Saul's grandson. So remember, Saul was the king when little David was running around, and David got anointed to be king, and then, you know, he's played the harp for Saul, and next thing you know, Saul's trying to kill him, and, you know, all this whole story went down way back in the day. So in 2 Samuel, David is now king. Saul and Jonathan was Saul's son. Him and David were really good friends, best friends, and this is one of his kids. And this is, so David is now in charge of everything. And this is what we're going to pick up in verse 1 here. It says, one day David asked, is anyone in Saul's family still alive? Anyone to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake? He summoned a man named Ziba. You got me, huh? Who had been one of Saul's servants. He said, are you Ziba? The king asked, yes, sir, I'm Ziba, replied. The king then asked him, is anyone still alive from Saul's family? If so, I want to show God's kindness to them. Okay, it says, Ziba replied, yes, one of Jonathan's son is still alive. He is crippled in both feet. And he says, where is he, the king asked. In Lo-Debar, Ziba told him, at the home of, you want to say Makir? Y'all like that? Makir? All right, vote of hands for Makir. Vote of hands for Makir. All right. You know, we should have just done this early. Okay. So David sent for him, and he brought him from Makir's. I get it? Did I get it, or did I do it the other way? Makir, right? You guys, if you're watching online, just bear with us. I'm sorry. Anyway, he said his name was Mephibosheth. And he was Jonathan's son, Saul's grandson. When he came to David, he bowed low to the ground in deep respect. David said, greetings, Mephibosheth. What? Mephibosheth replied, I mean, come on. He says, I am your servant. And David says, don't be afraid. I intend to show you kindness to you because of my promise to your father, Jonathan. I will give you all the property that once belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will eat here with me at the king's table. Mephibosheth bowed respectfully and exclaimed, who is your servant that you should show such kindness to a dead dog like me? Then the king summoned Saul's servants, Ziba, and said, I have given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family, and you and your sons and your servants are to farm the land for him and produce food for your master's household. But Mephibosheth, your master's grandson, will eat here at my table. So again, all that to say, I should have summarized next time. Note to self. But here is Saul's grandson, who I'm sure has heard stories about what his grandfather did to the current king. Like, David is the king, man. I don't know if you know this, but your grandfather tried to kill him. Your grandfather this, like, I can imagine that when he got summoned to the king's palace to see David, there's no idea what he thought was going to happen. Again, he's like, who am I to receive such kindness? Where David's like, I'm going to show God's kindness. I'm going to give you everything that your grandfather had. Like, David didn't have to do any of that, right? Like, nobody would have known nothing. Nobody would have said anything. But something inside of David says, you know what? I want to show God's kindness to him. Amen? Which was crazy to me. He says, now you're going to eat at my table. I don't know where you were eating before, but now you're sitting with the king. And it made me think about just the kindness that we have the opportunity to show other people, looking for nothing in return. Man, let me tell you this quick story. For spring break this year, we went to Vegas. Was it this year? I know Sin City, hey, they need saving too, people. I'm on a mission. So we went to Vegas, and there's this shoe guy. If you don't know, if you're in the shoe world, there's this place called Urban Necessities. It's got him 2Js, and it's got a huge YouTube following and all this stuff. And some of us like sneakers. He's got a cool store in Vegas, and we're like, man, we want to go there. Well, as we were watching him, because we follow him online, turned out his wife has gotten cancer. And he's been posting about it. And we're like, man, we're going to go out there. And I don't remember who. It was me, Leash, Jordan, and Caden. So we all were going there. And we're like, somebody had a great idea of like, man, maybe we should bring a prayer quilt. If you don't know that, we have a ministry here. Then these ladies come on Mondays and they sew quilts and they pray over them and they take them to people in the hospital and different things. And we're like, bro, that's a great idea. So we got a prayer quilt and we're going to Vegas. And we're like, man, we just want to give him this quilt, let him know that we're praying for his wife. Again, I've met him like once or twice. We've been there, we took pictures, but like, we don't know this guy, but I'm like, and again, just so you know, I'm not trying to make myself like a hero in any of these stories, okay? But this was an opportunity we got to have. So we go by his place there, and it's in Caesar's Palace, and he's not there. First day, he's not there the second day. So I'm like, I'll just message him on Instagram, like random stranger who wouldn't respond, right? I'm like, hey, are you going to be at the store today? He's like, probably. Why? I was like, oh, I have something for your wife. And then I was like, that don't sound right. Like, random guy wants to come out and see your wife. I was like, didn't think that one through. But anyway, we find out he's there, so you have to wait in line to get in, and we'll let so many people in at a time. And it finally gets up to us. So there's people behind us, and we're like, hey, man, I know you don't know us. We're from Houston. We're from a church out there, but we wanted to bring you a prayer quilt. We saw what your wife's going through. I want you to know that there's people praying for her in Houston. We just want to give this to you. And he didn't really know what to say, but he's like, let me FaceTime my wife. So he gets his wife on FaceTime. Like, everybody's in line waiting to get into the store. And we're like, so then I have to give this routine, not this routine, I'm trying to explain this to her now. And like, she's crying on the phone and I'm too tough to do any of that. So I'm like, you know, we're praying for you and all those things. And like, what a cool moment. Then we went in the store and then was like, I wanted a picture, but I can't take a picture now because this is weird. But it was really just a cool moment of going, man, what is something we can do for someone else with? I don't want anything in return. I'm not asking to get a cheap pair of shoes. I'm not asking for a free t-shirt. Like, man, you know what? Even though you're doing so many amazing things in life, you're hurting right now. Your wife is sick, and you need to know people care about you. So the fact that we got to go from Houston all the way to there to bring you this prayer quilt is amazing. And since then, my wife has talked to her several times on Instagram, and this guy was just in town like a week or two ago at another shoe store, and we was able to roll up and be like, hey, we're the people from Houston. Like, how's your wife doing? Like, again, to just show that, guess what? We care about you. Like, we care about what your situation is. I know we don't even know you, but guess what? It doesn't matter. It's our job to care. Amen? And this is what brought it all clarity in my mind, so to say, here in Ephesians. The last set of scriptures I'm going to read you guys. Ephesians 4:31 and 32. It says, get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, evil behavior. Instead, be kind to each other, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as God through Christ has forgiven you. Man, if that don't sum it all up, I probably should have started there. Like, think about it, like the kindness that God showed me. How can I be kind to this world when the world don't seem kind to me? Because God was kind to me first. God was so kind that he says, I'm going to give my best. I'm going to send my son to go down on a cross so you can have life and have it more abundantly. That's how kind I'm going to be. I'm going to be so kind to you that, you know what, you're probably going to mess up a lot. And guess what? Every time you mess up, I'm going to be standing with my arms wide open, ready to receive you back to me. I'm not going to say, why did you do this and why did you do that? I'm ready. I'm just happy you are home. Amen. One last story. This Easter. How many of you guys were here Easter? All right. We have a great egg hunt out front and we do all these 10,000 eggs and the kids. Well, it was Easter Sunday and we're finishing up the egg hunt. And for Easter Sunday, my wife's like, I'm about to throw down in the kitchen with beef tips and mashed potatoes and broccoli and cheese, all kind of stuff. So once the race kind of died down, I'm like, why don't you go and get that cornbread ready? And we're going to be ready to throw down. It's Easter lunch, right? It's Easter lunch. So we invited a couple of the next students, like, hey, you're welcome to come over. And we got all the stakes pulled up in the yard. I'm walking in the front door, about ready to leave. And Buzz, I don't know where he's at, but Buzz is like, hey, this guy needs a jump. Can you help him real quick? Sure. Just being honest. So no, I'm kind. I want to help. But I'm thinking like beef tips. But I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I go out back. Guess what? My car's not there because my wife took the car early to go get the cornbread. All right, so that's cool. So I asked my son Jordan. I was like, Jordan, let me borrow your car. I got to jump this guy off real quick. Just take a second. So I drive Jordan's car over here in the parking lot. I don't know where his cables are. Now I got to call him. Hey, where are your cables? Like, I'm on a time situation here. Yeah, sorry, that's just me. I didn't have on a church shirt, okay? He didn't know who I was. It's okay. I was just a regular person. I did have on an LS Kid shirts, rats. Anyway, so we're out there, right? And then it turns out we're trying everything. This car is not jumping off. Just like, and it's a guy, his wife, his older son, and the son's 2 kids. And they said they haven't been here in like probably 3 or 4 years, haven't been to church. Finally came back to church on Easter, great. And he's like, well, you know what I'm going to do, man? Thanks for all your help. I know you got plans. Let me call somebody. Maybe they can come get me and take me to get a battery. And I'm like, don't call anyone. I'm right here. Let's go. So we went to Walmart, got this guy a battery. And then I'm like, guess what? I'm paying for this battery. You're not even paying for it. It's like, what? This whole thing. I go back, I get the tools out, we get the battery put in, we do the whole thing. He leaves, I'm late to lunch. And you know the only thing I could think about during this whole thing? Man, God, that I'm in a position to have a vehicle that runs. I don't know about you, but if you've ever had car trouble, make some noise, because I'm going to tell you what, I've had enough for all of us. Come on, somebody. You know what it's like when you got your hood popped and you even got cables and you're just standing there like, donations? Who wants to give me a little bit of juice? That's what it felt like. But the whole time I was being kind to this guy, God was just really reminding me of the kindness that he has given me in his life, in my life. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, God, the fact that I can carry someone up here, like, man, how many times has someone had to do that for me? How many times has someone come in and just given me a ride when I've needed one? And then I'm like, no, let me buy this battery. I'm like, man, God, how many times has someone come through financially for me when I needed it? And I'm not saying they needed it. I didn't care because I was like, I'm doing this. God, thank you for putting me in a place in my life where I can even do that. Because there was a time in my life that I couldn't. There was a time in my life I couldn't do that. So what I realized is through trying to show kindness to someone else, God was just reminding me of all the kindness he has showed me in my life. And I'm like, God, how can I not do that for other people? How can I not be to other people what you've been to me? And again, I told a lot of stories about me, but I'm telling you, there's so many more stories about people that were kind to me in my life, that showed up for me when I was like, I had no hope, I didn't know what was gonna happen, and God sent people to me. The kindness of even in this church. There's people in this church that every time I mention we're going on a Belize trip, that go, you tell me how much you need, I wanna make it happen. There's people in this church that show up and go, hey, can I fix a meal for those next kids? I know they ain't got a lot of money sometimes. I want to hook them up. Man, there's so many times I see kindness in action around here. And I'm like, God, that's what we need to be as a church. With no strings attached, realizing, God, how can I be kind to a world that doesn't seem kind? God, because you was first kind to me. And God, I want to live a life that honors you. I want this to bear much fruit in my life. I want to walk into a place and it be better because I'm there. I want to leave that restaurant and change the way people view Christians on Sunday. I want to bring life to wherever I go. And God, and I know I'm not perfect, and I know none of us are, but God, that's what I'm striving to be. That I want much fruit evident in my life. I want people to say, I don't even know him or I don't know what's going on with this guy, but there's something different about him. That those fruits are just evident in our life. And people go, what is it about, why are you this way? Man, I can be kind to you because God was first kind to me. I can forgive others. You know why? Because, man, God forgave me. I can do those things for someone else. Why? Because when I look at me, I'm like, God, you did everything for me. You've showed me what kindness truly was. Jesus, you came and walked the earth, and through story after story in your word, I see you showing kindness to your people. I don't see you bashing them. I don't see you making fun of them. What I see, again, you are a loving father. You are a loving father who stands there going, man, I'm just glad you're home. What kindness is that? Even as a parent, I'm not always the best at that. Why'd you this? Why'd you that? Why'd you this? And I understand, we parents, you got to do some things, but I just think, man, God, what kindness you have showed me. How can I not show that to the world? How can I have the answer? God, how can I be a new version of me because of what I've done in you? Because the way you've saved my life and you changed me, how can I not go and bring that to the world that I live? God, how can I not go in every situation and say, God, before I walk into this place or walk into this situation, God, let your kindness flow out of me. Let me not make a decision based on my emotions or my opinion, God. Let me honor you in this moment. And I don't care what they say to me across the table, across the counter, wherever that is, God. The reaction I'm going to give is what you would have me to give. You know what I'm saying? That's how we go and change the world. That's how there's much fruit in our life. That's how we can go and be kind to a world that doesn't seem kind at times. And why is that? Most people that aren't showing that kindness, because guess what? They've never seen it. Again, I look back 40 years ago as a kid, and that thing sticks out to me 40 years later. There was a church who was really just kind to me. There's no way I would be here today if it wasn't for that church being kind to me. They had nothing to gain by picking us up. We were nothing but a headache. We were nothing but trouble. All of us that rode that bus, and they kept coming. That's that fruit of the Spirit kindness, of realizing we're not even doing it because we want anything from return. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. Amen?
Thank you for watching with us. We hope you enjoyed the message today. We always want to give you an opportunity to be a part of what God is doing here. So if you'd like to give, please text LS Church to 833-245-4492 or head over to our website at lschurch.tv. Again, thanks so much for watching with us, and we hope you have a great week.